Rob Parker wrote a great column in Deadspin.com that I took as a great compliment to Steph Curry. I'm not sure he meant it that way, but am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Well, my point was that Steph Curry ruined the NBA with the ridiculous threes. And I say it from this standpoint, Chris. He was making those shots and winning those MVPs, and, the Warriors were winning, that people decided that everybody could take threes. And that's when I say he ruined it, because other people, we had J.A. Adonde, who I quoted in the piece, right? From on yesterday. Do we have that?
Well, we got the sound. Yeah, here he
is.
One thing Steph Curry has done, and maybe it's irreversible, he changed the notion of a bad shot. I can show you on my iPod that there's Steph Curry pulling up 1-on-3 with 20 seconds left on the shot clock. But for him, it's a good shot because he's going to make it, right? But it's now everyone thinks that they're Steph Curry. You're not Steph Curry. You pulling up on a 1-on-3 is not the same as Steph Curry pulling up on a 1-on-3.
And that's what, I quoted him in the column from our show yesterday, because I thought he made a great point that's where we are, Chris. There's an average. I think I saw the number. Teams are averaging, games are averaging 83s now. 83s taken in an NBA game, and I get it. Even Popovich, who in the ESPN article said it's not basketball anymore. It's not beautiful. It's just there's only one. You don't care about who out-rebounded people, Chris, how many turnovers you had. None of it matters. It's only about how many threes you made. And very seldom, we talked to Antonio Daniels, right? When the Pelicans beat somebody and they didn't have the most threes, that was like an anomaly.
I was amazed at that
when he said that, right?
Because I think he said the Pelicans only took 11 threes.
And won the game.
Right. And the Jazz outscored them by 30 from three. That was amazing. You won't see that much.
No.
You will not see that very much.
That's why I say that Steph ruined it, because he was so good and he was pulling up from three-quarters or half court and taking shots. And Chris, early on in his career, had he missed some of those, right, and was just a good shooter, not a great shooter from there, maybe it would have changed people, it would have tempered people. But because he had such success, and I get it, as a smaller guy, I'm sure, Chris, he had to be able to be ready to launch whenever he got a free look, back in those days. And he couldn't go to the basket and try to be a big scorer, because that wouldn't happen.
Right. Well, look, I thought it was a good read. Go check it out at Deadspin.com. It was a very good column. But here's what I took from it, Rob. And you kind of just said it. He was so good. Like, I looked at it, and why I said it was a compliment, I wasn't just being, lighthearted. Like, he was so good that he did change the game. I've told you this before. I went to LeBron James as they were preparing in Golden State for the series with the Warriors in 2015. First time they met in the finals. And I said to him, do you think, this was just one-on-one, I said, do they remind you of the Spurs last year that beat y'all in the finals in Miami? He was like, nah. He kind of chuckled like, nah.
Right.
He said, jump shooting teams don't win championships, which was true for the first 60 years of the NBA or whatever. But now that's how Steph has changed it, Rob. And so my thing is, I get what you were saying, but first of all, that's how good Steph was. And secondly, it's not his fault. And remember, you know this, Rob, you were covering the league at this time. They used to say the same thing about Michael Jordan. Remember, not that because it was his fault, but because Jordan was so great one-on-one, so many moves, dunking, flying through the air, that for a good 20, 30 years, you had guys that thought it was just about ISO one-on-one. Remember, the league went really heavy ISO.
Right, and athleticism.
One-on-one. Right. It was just, he can't shoot, but he can fly. He's quick. We'll draft him in the lottery, And so I think I think you're right in that this three-point barrage has come from Steph, but I look at it as a compliment to him, and it's not his fault guys copied him. And so there's going to be a balancing out of this, Rob, too.
There has to be, because right now I think there's a lot of people out there. I heard a lot, obviously, Chris, from a lot of people who read the column and looked at it. And some people agreed and just said, man, it's just too much. And I've said the same thing. I've told you that home runs and strikeouts have ruined baseball. Right. I'll be the first one to raise my hand. I love to see Aaron Judge and some of these guys, and Bryce Harper and these guys launch and hit home runs, but not every at bat. Like I don't. I double down the line to score 2 runs. And if they don't homer,
they're striking out.
Right. I could take a double down the right field line as well and have them slide into second base. Okay, that's cool too. So we've seen this because of the analytics and the pen protector geeks have taken over, and I get it. Like a friend of mine, Walt, sent me a text after reading the column, and he said something like, you can make 2 threes, Chris, and it would take you 4 twos to beat that. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And that's the point. Like he only made 2 threes, but I need 4 twos just to beat the 2 threes that you made. So I do understand
that.
It
makes sense mathematically.
Right. But it doesn't make for the game, and that's when I say it's ruined from the standpoint of none of the other factors seem to matter anymore. Turnovers. And then I highlighted, of course, the Washington-Denver game where Denver, and that might be like that's that one little bit watershed moment where you go, what is going on? And there was pushback in the league where people said, this is not winning basketball. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I look. On one hand, I think the game is a lot of fun to watch. I mean, the skills of these guards, the range they're shooting from is just unbelievable. And so I do like seeing that. I don't think we've gotten to the point. Remember, I thought in the All-Star game, it got to a point where it became a joke because they were taking so many threes. I don't think we're there yet in the regular season. But there's a threshold, Rob. I don't know exactly what it is. Is it 100 threes? Is it combined 100 threes? Then it becomes kind of not basketball as we know it. I don't know.
It's a 3-point shooting contest. That's what it would wind up being. Who can make the most?
Right. And that just isn't good for anybody. So I think there'll be a balancing out. I like my idea of cutting out the corner 3, the side 3. Some don't like it, but we've had Stu Jackson on, Rob, and he's told us that he's very concerned about the 3-point. We should get him on again soon.
Yeah, we should, because this is still a hot topic going on right now as we get ready for the second half of the season, because we've seen so many threes. Who's averaging the most? Is it Utah?
The Clippers shoot the highest percentage. Utah's up there.
Yeah.
I don't know who takes the most. But here, the other thing is this, Rob, and you saw this in that column. A lot of guys are playing this, or teams are all basically playing the same, basically, right?
Right.
It's all drive and kick. I remember when you and I went to it was a couple years ago when Houston and the Lakers opened up the season at the Staples Center. We went to that game together. And remember how it just hit me, and we had seen it for a few years, but how many times Houston players, Harden, Chris Paul at that time, would get into the 15-foot, 12-foot range and be open and wouldn't shoot.
Right.
Like they would either dribble it back out or
dribble out of it.
Kick it out. Yeah, and it was like, what are you doing? That's like a wide open 13-footer. And they weren't taking them. And so it definitely is strange. But the thing is, everybody's playing the same way, looking for the 3. And I look at Philadelphia, Rob. They got a guy that nobody else in the league is like in Joel Embiid. And how you going to beat Brooklyn? You're not outscoring Brooklyn.
Right.
You're not outrunning them. That would be one advantage. I don't know if you could beat them that way, but it'd be worth a try. They have nobody to handle Joel Embiid.
And I would just keep throwing them the ball until they show me that they can stop them. For real.
Right. Slow the game down, because if it's up and down, I think Brooklyn's going to just outscore them. But you could slow it down. You got shooters around Embiid and just give it a try. But I don't think they'll go that route. But Rob G, what you got an interesting stat?
Yeah, 5 years ago, the Splash Brothers, Steph and Clay, they won that first championship.
Yes.
There were only 2 teams in the league shooting more than 30 3-pointers in a game. They were one of them. Fast forward to now, 2021 season. There are 4 teams shooting more than 40 threes per game.
Wow.
And only 3 teams shooting less than 30.
Wow.
That's amazing. That's where it is.
Well, and here's the other thing, Rob, and I don't think, call them the analytics nerds or whatever. I don't know that they see this. But you know this. Those Durant, Steph, Warrior teams. Durant is a mid-range shooter. Now, he can shoot the 3 and shoot it well. But he does most of his damage in the mid-range, and the dude's a 2-time champion and one of the best players we've ever seen. Maybe you think, the mid-range shot has some value still. How about Kawhi? That's Kawhi's bread and butter, is that pull-up mid-range shot. So the thing is, everybody's killing the mid-range jumper. Embiid is killing people with the mid-range shot. But everybody criticizes it. But many of the best teams and the teams that are winning, they still have guys that excel in the mid-range.
No doubt.
It's not just all threes.
All right, 877-99 on Fox is a number. Let's kick it off with Jeff in Houston. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, Rob. I was just calling in. First off, it's a pleasure to be on the air with you guys.
Thank you.
I would like to start off saying I agree with you. I feel like the 3 is a detriment to the league. First example, you got the Rockets last year. They got rid of Clint Capella. I thought he was a good player. They got rid of their center. I know that was kind of for Harden, so he can move around a little more. But that whole thing with just everybody and these shooters, you're starting to see the big man fade away.
And
I feel like, Clint Capella was a rising star, man. I don't even know who he plays for anymore.
Atlanta. Now let me ask you this.
Man,
hold on. Let me ask you this.
Hold on.
Let me ask you this. Do you want, I think Rob and I both agree that they're hitting a threshold where they got to figure something out with the 3, but I don't want it taken out of the game.
No, I don't.
Do you want it taken out?
No.
Yeah, I think it still is a good thing to have. It's just become, too much a part of the game. Are you, as the caller, do you want it out of the game?
Oh no, I think it should stay. I think it should stay. I enjoy the 3, but like you said, the percentages are getting a little too high, and when you boost those percentages, you're losing it from other areas of the court that people like to watch and like to see, like the dunks, the post-ups, the big man.
No doubt. Jeff, thanks. We appreciate the support in Houston. Thanks a lot. Robert in South Florida, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Rob?
Good evening, guys.
How are you, man?
Thanks for taking my call. I believe that the perimeter shooting in the NBA is a reaction to the zone defense. You got some of the best athletes in the world playing zone defense, so you have some of the best athletes in the world shooting over their head. If you want to take away the importance of the 3, have them play man again, and that'll open up the lane. That's what I got to say.
I don't think so because, one, you can't play a regular zone in the NBA. You still have to be close to a man, like 3 feet with a man. So it's not a true zone.
Right. You just can't stand there and not guard anybody.
Right. Most teams don't even play zone. They play man and they switch everything now. So I hear you, but I don't think the zone has anything to do with it. And Rob, the lane is open. I mean, the lane is more open than ever. We talked about it. You used to see Jordan go into the lane and get 6-7 guys waiting for him.
And get hammered.
Including his own teammates.
Guys would come off the bench and try to get a piece of it.
Yeah, that was their job, right? So, I don't think the zone has anything to do with it.
877-99 on Fox. If you want to chime in, we'd love to hear from you. Let's go to point guard Rick in the Bronx. That's D.A. Bronx. What's up?
That's right. What's going on, fellas? The best sports show in the land. Definitely.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, listen, I want to ask Chris a question. Chris, do you remember, this goes back a few years, matter of fact, a whole lot of years, but do you remember when they implemented the zone and they gave Allen Houston all that money from the Knicks because he was a zone buster. You remember that?
Yep.
And I really believe that the 3-point shot evened out the playing field for the small man. And I'm gonna tell you why, because I love Steph. Steph is one of my favorite point guards. You know, I guess you could call him a point guard, but you know, because of his handle and the way he sees the floor. But it's just that, to me, I think it evened out the playing field for the small man. You know what I mean?
I think it did more than even it out. It
gave him an advantage,
right? Like the big man. I mean, you honestly have people wondering what Shaq would be like in today's NBA.
And you know what he would be? He would still dominate. I mean, what else would he?
Yeah,
right?
I think he would kill guys down there. Because he had the mentality to just go down there and score. But honestly, if he grew up in today's era, he'd probably be shooting a lot more threes.
Does that be unbelievable? Larry Brown would be sick if Shaq was on the perimeter.
Right.
He would have a heart attack, I think. You know, you remember he hated that Darko was a European player who stood on the perimeter.
He may have ruined Darko, Rob.
Right.
You were there. I mean, I don't know
there.
what Darko would have become, but
Darko, if he would have gone to a lot of different teams and been with different coaches, Chris, he might have been a player. But Larry had if he had gone to Dallas or something, and they, you know.
Yeah, because look, we all know how good of a GM Joe Dumars was.
Yep.
You know, the guys that picked him they weren't dummies. You know what I mean?
He was. You know, I told you I did a show with Doug Gottlieb. Actually, my tryout at the other network on the radio network with Doug Gottlieb, Game Night. You remember that show, right? Game Night.
Yep.
And Doug Gottlieb told me back then that when he played against Darko over in Europe, said he was the best 15-year-old player he had ever seen. Like,
really?
And that's from Doug.
And he was on the perimeter. He was like,
but he said he was the best 15. So when you talk about
Doug played against all the best American 15-years at that time. You know, because he was a top player. Yeah,
exactly. He was playing against them, and that's what he said about Darko. So he said, people now can say it was a bust or mistake, but I played against him, and he was that good. So
wow.